Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining me. My name is Lauren James, and I will be walking you through a gentle yoga practice where we will be focusing on our upper back and our chest. So, at the time of me recording this, it is February here in Chicago. And the reason this sequence came about is because about a week or two ago, we got about a foot of snow here. And so students were coming to class. I would say, what do you want to work on today? And they would say, my upper back is really sore from all the shoveling. And so it got me thinking. So here's the sequence, upper back and chest. We're not gonna just focus on one side of the body, right? If we're gonna do the upper back, we kind of gotta do the upper front. But hopefully, by the time you're watching this, it's March in Chicago, or maybe not in Chicago, but hopefully there's not a foot of snow, and hopefully you don't need this video the way we did now. Hopefully this is sort of irrelevant in that way, but still useful for other things, because just because you're not shoveling, you're not using your upper back. So that's sort of where I'm going with this. Again, hopefully there's not any more snow that we're shoveling, at least hopefully not a foot anymore. Okay, you don't need anything for the practice. Of course, I always have 2 blocks and a blanket. I got myself a new blanket. I got myself some new things. But I'm gonna be using my new blanket and my 2 blocks. Otherwise, you don't need anything. We are gonna start on our backs. So just make yourself comfortable. Come on down. Okay, so come down onto your mat, onto your back in any comfortable position. Know that you can always have your legs extended or your knees bent. Arms can be alongside the body, out in opposite directions, hands on the belly, truly whatever makes you feel calm, centered, grounded, like you can really check in with your body. So set yourself up in that way, whatever that means for you. As you let your body really settle onto your mat, think about letting everything settle. Letting your muscles, your joints, your physical body settle down onto the ground, down onto the floor, down onto the earth. Let your breath even settle into its natural rhythm, its natural ebb and flow. Maybe let your mind settle. Imagine when you step onto your mat, think about the way a snow globe settles. After you shake it, it starts to settle and soften and become calm, and everything falls into place right where it needs to go. Think about that happening here, not just to your body, but again, your breath, your mind, all parts of your being just settling, softening like a snow globe. Tap into your natural breath. Again, a soft, settled breath. It's just the natural breath. But check in with it. Notice it. Notice how smooth, steady, and fluid your natural breath can be. Imagining a steady stream of breath. Know that you can always stay here with your natural breath. Just as you are observing your breath is still a form of pranayama. It's still going to help ground you, center you, and bring you to the present moment. So maybe you just stay on your natural breath, or I'll be walking you through Viloma 3. Now, Voloma 3 is where we divide the inhalation into 3 equal parts and the exhalation into 3 equal parts. So Voloma 1 is where we just break down the inhalation. Voloma 2 is where we just break down the exhalation. Voloma 3 is where we do both. So know that as I'm walking you through this, you can just focus on the inhalation. You can focus on just the exhalation. You can move through Voloma 1 or 2. You can stay with your natural breath. You have options. So know that you always have options, not just with the poses, but even with the breath work. Again, I will be cueing Voloma 3, or we'll do a round of Voloma 3 and then a few rounds of a natural breath, because Voloma 3 is a little bit more challenging. Let's say that. Okay, it takes a little bit more effort. Arguably, it's one of the times we'll be working and putting in the most amount of effort in this entire gentle practice. So if that helps, maybe as we go. All right. So again, I'll cue you through Voloma 3. You do what you need. But exhale completely. Push all of the breath out of your lungs. Now inhale 1/3 of the way. Pause. Hold your breath. Now inhale 2/3 of the way. Pause. Hold your breath. Inhale 3/3 of the way. Fill your lungs to their capacity. Hold the breath at the top. Now exhale 1/3 of the breath. Hold the breath here. Pause here. Exhale, release 2/3 of the breath. Pause, hold the breath here. Now exhale 3/3 of the breath. Push all of the breath out of your lungs. Release every last drop of breath. Hold it at the bottom. Inhale naturally. Exhale naturally. Take a few more rounds of a natural breath. And we'll only do a few more rounds of Voloma 3. Okay, so to begin, exhale completely. Push all of the breath out of your lungs. Inhale 1/3 of the way. Pause, hold your breath. Inhale 2/3 of the way. Pause, hold your breath. Inhale 3/3 of the way, breathing in all the way, taking a large full inhalation, and then I'll hold the breath at the top. Now exhale, release 1/3 of that breath. Pause, hold the breath here. Exhale 2/3 of that breath. Pause, hold the breath here. Exhale 3/3. Push every last drop of breath out of your lungs, out of your torso, out of your body. Hold it at the bottom. And then inhale naturally. Exhale naturally. A few rounds of a natural breath. Let your body soften. We'll do just 2 more rounds like that. So to begin, exhale completely. Push all of the breath out. Inhale 1/3 of the way. Pause, hold your breath. Soften your shoulders and arms. Inhale 2/3 of the way. Pause here, hold your breath. Soften your throat and jaw. Inhale 3/3 of the way. Fill your entire lungs with breath. Keep breathing in. Hold it at the top. Relax the muscles of your face, especially forehead and eyebrows. And then exhale 1/3 of that breath. Hold, pause, relax shoulders and arms. Exhale 2/3 of the breath. Hold, pause, soften throat and jaw. Exhale 3/3 of the breath. Even as you're doing this, relax the muscles of your face. Once you've exhaled all the way, hold it, pause with an empty breath. And then inhale naturally. Exhale naturally. A few rounds of a natural breath. We'll only do 1 more Voloma 3. Okay, final round. Exhale completely. Inhale 1/3 of the way. Pause, hold the breath. Soften shoulders and arms. Inhale 2/3 of the way. Pause, soften, throat and jaw. Inhale 3/3 of the way. Inhaling all the way, fill your lungs to their capacity. Relax the muscles of your face, especially forehead and eyebrows. Hold the breath. Exhale 1/3 of that breath. Relax shoulders and arms. Hold the breath. Exhale 2/3 of the breath. Pause, soften, throat and jaw. Exhale 3/3 of the breath. Push all the breath out. Relax the muscles of your face. Keep relaxing your muscles, but push all the breath out and then hold it at the bottom. And then inhale naturally. Return completely back to your natural breath. Notice how you feel. Keeping your attention inward if it feels right for you. You might take this time to set an intention for your practice. Thinking of a positive word or phrase, maybe even phrasing it as a traditional sankalpa, thinking the phrase I am, and then whatever positive word or phrase is coming to mind. Putting yourself in the intention and putting it in the present tense as if you're already doing it, as if you're already accomplishing it. But either way, silently and slowly repeat that phrase, that intention, that word a few times to yourself to allow it to settle in your heart. And then start to deepen your breath. Smooth, fluid, big, full breaths, and then allow that breath to propel movement throughout the rest of your body. Maybe rock the head, wiggle fingers and toes, and then just start to slowly add some movement through the body. So just as you're taking a few moments here to just move, the intention with Viloma and a lot of the breath work is to strengthen the muscles of the lungs. And so you probably felt that Viloma 3 was probably challenging to hold the breath, to really manipulate it in those ways. And I just want to be, sometimes students ask, why do we do that? Why do we do breath work? There's a lot of reasons we do breath work, but the reason we sort of hold the breath and pause and do all those things is to strengthen the muscles that help you breathe, your diaphragmatic breathing muscles, your intercostals, and I know I'm missing another one, but you have muscles that help you breathe, and we have to strengthen and work those muscles just like we work our biceps and our abs and our quads and other spaces in our body. So it might have been challenging, and truly it might be the hardest we'll work this whole sequence. There's maybe one thing that takes a little bit of work. So keeping that in mind, that's kind of nice. It's all slow stuff from here. Okay, so we're gonna stay on our back a little longer. Come on down with your knees bent, feet flat. We're just gonna start with the lower back. I'll explain the difference in the lower back and the upper back in just a moment, but arms can be alongside the body, out in opposite directions. Just let the palms face up. Palms up, especially when you're laying on your back, always is a subtle, soft opening for your chest and shoulders, which is one of the things we're doing today. So palms up, and then just let the knees sway side to side. So this is for your lower back, as we're letting the legs move. Notice that your upper back isn't doing anything, right? Your shoulders are heavy on the ground. Your upper back is stable and heavy on the ground. But we still do need to warm up your lower back. Just because we're going to focus on the upper doesn't mean we're going to neglect the lower, which is always the case. We're always moving our spine in all directions. But something to think about with your spine as we're kind of contrasting the upper back and the lower back. The upper portions of the spine have more mobility than the lower portion. So think about how much you can move your neck, right? You have the ability, don't do it now, you don't need to, but you have the ability to look all the way over your right shoulder and all the way over your left, right? Now, can your lower back do that sort of quarter turn? No, right? So as you start in the neck, you have more mobility, and then it decreases as you go down. So your upper back has more mobility, and we're gonna really expand on that and explore that. We're gonna be focusing on stretching mostly the upper back and the chest. Sometimes when I do upper back or shoulder sequences, we're strengthening and stretching. This is mostly gonna be stretching. Again, with the intention of sort of a shoveling, but hopefully we're not doing that in March. I don't know. Okay, let your legs go to each side one more time. Oh, so where I was going with that is that your lower back really doesn't have much mobility, so we really do need to go out of our way to warm it up, because it won't just naturally warm up on its own, because it's not going to move. That's where I was going with that. Okay, I forgot for a second. Okay, now we're gonna come to a pelvic tilt, again, getting into the lower back a little bit through lower and mid back. So arms can still do what they were doing. Palms down here is fine as well, because now we need a little bit more control, but palms up is also all right. Knees bent, feet flat, feet and knees hip distance apart. Keep your upper back on the ground and heavy. Seat on the ground and heavy. But as you inhale, lift your lower back, lift your ribs like you're pointing your belly button towards your thighs. It's not gonna point all the way down at like the hip flexors or the hip creases, but just lifting the ribs up a little bit. Arch the back. Now exhale, push the back into the floor, tuck the tailbone. It's like you're pointing your belly button towards your face. It's not really gonna point all the way at your face, but in that direction. Inhale as you lift the spine, round the back, point the belly button towards the thighs, and as you exhale, tuck the tailbone, push the ribs down, belly button to the face. A few more like this, just move with your breath. Now again, we're not focused on upper back right in this moment. We will momentarily, but we just need to spend a little bit extra time on the lower back. And as most of you know, I've been struggling with lower back issues, so this is something that's really important to me. So maybe I'm just projecting, but really a lot of people do struggle with lower back stuff, especially this time of year. Again, if you are in Chicago, I mean, you might not be in Chicago, but I'm in Chicago, and I think today the high is like 7 with like 18-mile-an-hour winds. So I'm not going for walks anymore. I can't really move, you know, in the ways that I would like to. And that's not just me. Again, if you're in Chicago, if you're in the Midwest, it's hard to move. So we've got to make these intentional efforts to move not just your body, but even these specific places like your lower back or your shoulders or your upper back, whatever it is. Okay, let's do one more of each. And then just come to neutral, so you're neither lifting up or pushing down, just somewhere in between. That's neutral. Take a breath. Okay, take a deep breath in. As you breathe out, hug your knees in towards your chest. Maybe you rock side to side. Maybe you point and flex your feet. Take just a few moments here. And then we are going to make our way up to a comfortable seat. So however you need to get there, come on up to a seat. Okay. All right, now we're going to focus a little bit more here on upper back. And of course, shoulders are going to get in on some of the action too. We can't do just chest and upper back and neglect shoulders. So all of this is about to get a little bit of movement here. So let's start with eagle arms, Garudasana. So starting from a tall, comfortable seated position, you can have your legs however you like. Inhale as you reach your arms out in opposite directions. Exhale as you cross the right arm over the left like you're giving yourself a hug. Now, crawl your fingertips back. Sorry, I get distracted by hair. That's crawl your fingertips back like you're reaching for your shoulder blades. And then lift your arms off your chest and away from your chest, so your elbows point forward, not down at the ground. Now notice what's happening in your spine. This is gonna create the temptation for you to push your ribs forward to be in like a back bend. So can you even everything out? Remember what neutral felt like. It's hard to translate neutral on your back to neutral seated, but we want to kind of do that. Remember how you weren't pushing down, you weren't lifting up, that sort of in between, right? Okay. Now, continue to lift your elbows up and think about reaching your elbows forward. You're not allowing your arms to release. Fingertips are crawling back while the elbows reach forward. You should feel this in your upper back, the space between your shoulder blades and your rhomboids. Now, you absolutely could stay here. Check out your elbows. If your elbows have not stacked or crossed, if they look something like mine do in this moment, stay here. It doesn't benefit you to take the next step. But if your elbows have stacked one on top of the other, or if they've crossed, you might turn at your arms, fingertips reaching to the sky, maybe the backs of the hands together, maybe the palms together. But I still want you to lift your elbows up and draw your forearms forward, but relax your shoulders away from your ears. And then check in with your spine. Are you in neutral? Keep reaching the crown of the head up, but draw the ribs up and in. Let's take 2 breaths here. Garudasana, eagle pose. Okay, inhale, let the arms come out in opposite directions again. Relax the shoulders. Exhale, cross the left arm on top of the right. Left on top of the right, like you're giving yourself a hug. Crawl your fingertips back like you're reaching for your shoulder blades. And you might not grab onto them, that's okay. It's like you're reaching for the shoulder blades. You move in that direction. You lift your elbows up, arms away from the chest, elbows pointing forward. You relax your shoulders away from your ears. You draw your ribs up and in. Make sure you're in a neutral spine. Now you could stay here. Check out your elbows. They're gonna maybe look a little different from the other side when the other arm was on top. But maybe you stay here, maybe you move your arms, so fingertips are to the sky, maybe backs of the hands together, maybe palms, but lift the forearms up and forward. Feel that opening again in your upper back. We're focusing on stretching that space here. Notice that feeling. Let's take 2 breaths. And then inhale, let the arms come out in opposite directions. Exhale, bring them behind you. We're gonna take Yoga Mudra. So you've got 2 options. One option is to just bring your fingertips down onto the ground behind you. Push your fingertips down, roll your shoulders down and back, and lift your chest. So here we're focusing on, instead of the upper back, sort of the upper chest. So opening this chest. I don't want you to think about a back bend. I don't want you to think ribs forward. I want you to think heart up, collarbones out, shoulders down and back. Now you might stay just like this, kind of looking up and away. I always like to look sort of where the wall meets the ceiling and the wall in front of me, not necessarily up at the ceiling. And you might just stay just like this, or keeping the shoulders down and back. Maybe you clasp your hands behind you, maybe take the other grip that you don't normally take. Reach your knuckles down and back like you're reaching for the back of your mat. Now maintaining what you've got going on in your spine, so keep your spine and your torso as it is. Listen to your shoulders. Maybe you lift your hands. I'll turn for a second. Maybe you start to lift your hands away from the ground, like you're reaching your knuckles towards the wall behind you as opposed to the back of your mat. But again, listen to your shoulders. Notice how this feels. Shoulders are still down and back. Now you're squeezing the upper back in hopes of stretching the front. That's how these 2 work together. One opens, one closes, one expands, one contracts. And so expand the chest, contract the back, take 2 breaths. And then slowly release the hands, release the arms. You can bring your hands back onto your lap and just do some shoulder rolls. Roll the shoulders out a few times. Roll them in one direction. And then reverse. 1 or 2 more times. All right, we're gonna set up in tabletop. So I always like to bring my blocks to the top 2 corners of the mat, and we are gonna be kneeling for a little bit. You might support your knees with a little bit more cushion. I don't think I need it though. Oh, and if you're wondering, I got that blanket on Amazon. If you're looking for a blanket that's like this, I got it on Amazon. I think I also might have got these blocks there too. Okay. All right. So from tabletop, let's move the spine, the whole length of the spine together a little bit more. So cat and cow. From tabletop, as you inhale, drop your belly, point your belly button at your thighs. Lift your chest, look forward, broaden through the collarbones. Exhale, tuck the tailbone, ribs to the sky, chin to the chest, belly button points to the face as the chin is to the chest and you look towards your belly button. Move with your breath. Inhale, drop the belly, lift your chest, lift your gaze, look forward. Exhale, tuck the tailbone, ribs to the sky, chin to the chest. We'll do just a few more because we did already warm up the spine, but we'll do this a few more times. If you're more familiar with this movement, think about it being like a wave. Starting at your tailbone, starting at the bottom, traveling up your spine like a wave, giving each section of the spine, each vertebrae, its moment, instead of moving everything together. Do one more of each. Okay, then return back to a neutral spine. Okay, so neutral, making sure that your pelvis is in neutral as well. So belly button will point straight down to the mat, not at the thighs. You're gonna be tempted to let your belly button point towards your thighs. Don't do that. Towards the mat. So you might have to think belly button to the face a little bit, and that's not bad. Okay, so hands under the shoulders, lift up and out of the armpits. Look at the tip of your left thumb. Look at the tip of your left thumb. It's going to help you balance, going to keep the neck in neutral as you reach your right fingertips forward, like you're going to shake someone's hand. Fingertips forward, right thumb to the sky. You absolutely could stay here. Focus on pushing the left hand down, lift up and out of the left armpit, strengthen the left side of the chest. So we are working the chest a little bit here. Now you could stay here, or maybe you lengthen your left leg back as you push your left heel back, reaching the heel back, the toes pointing down. This is the other movement that I was thinking maybe takes a little bit of work. We're gonna be kicking it pretty slow and easy. This is the sequence, except here I do want you to work. So again, draw the ribs up and in like you're pointing your belly button just a little bit towards your face. Push your left hand down, lift up and out of the left armpit, strengthen the left side of the chest. Then you might feel a stretch in your upper back. Reach the right fingertips forward, the left heel back, stay for a breath. Inhale, exhale, slowly lower the hand and the knee, slowly lowering back down onto the mat. Maybe roll out your wrists, let your hips sway. We're only going to do it one time on each side, so we only have to do it one more time. Okay, so set yourself up, tabletop. Make sure that the spine, the pelvis, everything's in neutral. Look at the tip of your right thumb. Push down into that right hand as you reach the left fingertips forward. Left fingertips forward, but the thumb to the sky like you're going to shake someone's hand. Now, keep pushing that right hand down. Again, lift up and out of the right armpit, strengthen the right side of the chest. You absolutely could stay here, or maybe keeping the spine in neutral, core engaged, lengthen the right leg back. Push through the right heel, reach the right toes down to the mat, lengthen the hamstring, protect the knee. Okay, now again, check in with your spine, check in with your pelvis. You might have to tuck your tailbone just a little bit, belly button just a teeny tiny bit, tilting towards the face. Reach the left fingertips forward, the right heel back. Push the right hand down into the ground. Feel the chest work, the core engaged. One more breath. Inhale. Exhale very slowly, lowering the hand and the knee. And then again, once you get there, maybe roll out the wrists, let the hips sway. Do that for as long as you like, and then we are just going to meet in child's pose anyways. So when you're ready, you can bring your big toes together, sink your hips back towards your heels, crawl your fingertips forward, let your forehead rest on something. So maybe your forehead just organically touches the ground. Maybe you stack your hands, rest your forehead there, stack two fists, rest your forehead there, but rest your forehead on something. Take about 3 breaths here. All right. And then we are going to meet on our stomach. So you can sort of just slide your way forward, coming onto your stomach. Now we're going to do a movement that is a little, it's new, and maybe you've never done this before, but stick with me. Now I like to rest my forehead on something here. So I'm going to grab my blanket, let my forehead rest here. You could just let your forehead rest on your mat, but I've got a blanket handy. Or maybe a block, whatever, but I would prefer your neck in neutral here as opposed to you turning to look over to one side. So you're not gonna be able to see me, but I have the utmost faith in you. All right, so rest your forehead on something, let your neck be in neutral. Come to goal post in your arms. So elbows bent at a right angle, palms facing down towards the mat. So it's like your fingertips and the crown of your head are reaching in the same direction. All right, now, relaxing the rest of your body. I'm gonna lift my head just so you can hear me, but I want your head down. Relaxing the rest of your body. Relax your glutes, your legs, your ankles, your feet, all of that. And keeping your elbows on the ground. We're gonna start with the right arm. Keep your right elbow on the ground, but lift your right forearm off the ground. Like you're trying to reach your right fingertips to the sky, but not at the wrist. Keep the wrist strong. So from elbow to fingertips is a straight line. You're lifting that arm up, keeping the elbow down. Notice that weird feeling in your shoulder and slowly lower it down. Let's do the same with the left. Keep the left elbow down on the ground, but lift the left arm up like you're trying to reach your left fingertips to the sky, but again, not by moving at the wrist. This is at the shoulder, this is at the upper back. Slowly lower it down. We're gonna keep moving. So right arm, lift it up, lift it. When you get to the top, hold it for a moment, and slowly lower. Left arm, lift it up, lift up, lift, 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 lift as high as you can, hold it for a moment, lower down. Now, keep alternating at your own pace, move at your own rhythm. Now again, this is probably foreign and awkward and weird, and you're probably thinking like, what? These are muscles we don't use a whole lot. These are muscles we don't engage in, we don't give thought to. Even in yoga classes, fitness classes, all these ways we move around, these muscles usually get neglected. So this is gonna probably feel weird and funky and foreign, but that's okay. That's why we do a lot of these movements. If you can recall the first dozen times you ever did down dog, you thought the same thing. I can almost guarantee it. I know I did. And so we do these movements that feel weird and foreign until they don't feel weird and foreign anymore. So notice what you're feeling, your upper back, your shoulders. Noticing that your arms are not lifting up very high. That's not the point. They're not gonna lift up high. That's all right. We'll do maybe just 2 more each side. They're not gonna lift up high, and they're not causing pain, right? This isn't painful. If you have a shoulder injury and this isn't causing you pain, back off, rest, move even slower, smaller, whatever, but it should just feel kind of funky and like you're working a muscle you don't normally work, and that's the point. Okay, once you've finished and you've come out even, give yourself a breath. Okay, and we're gonna come back to tabletop. So bring your hands under your shoulders, push your hands and your knees down into the ground to lift yourself to tabletop. All right, now from tabletop, we're gonna come up. So I'm going to reset everything. All right, from tabletop, walk your hands one whole handprint closer to the top of your mat. Speaking of downward facing dog, let's get into it. So hook the toes under, inhale, exhale, down dog. We'll take just a few breaths here. Notice how your shoulders feel in this down dog. Maybe you pedal out your heels. Maybe you shake your head yes and no. Take a few moments to move, to sway. Maybe to stay still. That's all right. Give yourself about 2 or 3 breaths. Okay. And then when you're ready, coming back to stillness, deeply bend your knees. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, travel forward. Take little baby steps, walking your feet forward. We're going to meet in forward fold and stay here for a few moments. So forward fold, Uttanasana. Rounding through the upper body. And again, taking any movement that feels good. Maybe you sway, maybe you pedal out the heels, maybe you rock your head yes and no. Maybe you take Yoga Mudra here. Bring your hands by your lower back. Interlace your fingers. Maybe interlace them the way you don't typically interlace them. And then reach your knuckles to the sky. Maybe even knuckles up and overhead. But again, a few moments, a few breaths, being somewhere that feels good. Take about 2 more breaths. And if you're in Yoga Mudra with your hands interlaced, keep your hands interlaced, but bring them slowly towards your lower back. Once your hands make contact with your lower back, unclasp your hands. Let your hands just slide alongside the back of your body, back of the legs, until they eventually just hang. All right, from Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, lift up halfway, lengthen the spine, reach the crown of your head forward. Exhale as you fold forward, Uttanasana, rounding through the upper body. Push the heels into the ground and inhale, rise all the way up. Circle the arms. Maybe add a bit of a back bend at the top. Bring your hands to your heart. Take a deep breath in Tadasana. Okay, we'll move through a few half sun salutations here. And I think you've probably heard me say this multiple times, but especially because we're focusing on the chest and the upper back, I'm going to say this again. When we have that option for a back bend, and it is an option for a back bend, I almost never take it because it typically doesn't always feel good for me. Again, I've got my own personal injuries and issues, but as you're coming into this pose that's called Urdhva Hastasana, upward salute, it might just be grounding the feet, reaching fingertips and the crown of the head up, and then just coming back into it, or it might be an optional back bend. But I want it to be a back bend in your chest and heart, like Yoga Mudra was, not by pushing the ribs forward and the hips forward. This will certainly bother your lower back. So it's not a hips forward back bend, because there are back bends that are like that. It's not a hips forward though, it's a heart up. Okay, something to think about. All right. A few rounds just like this. So ground the heels into the floor. Push the heels of the feet into the floor. That's going to help you stand up tall. Stand up as tall as you possibly can here. As if someone were about to measure you and take your height. Really grow tall, grow long, grow strong. Soften the shoulders. Take a breath. And then inhale. Reach the fingertips up towards the sky. Maybe add a back bend in your upper back. Exhale, fold forward, Uttanasana, rounding through the upper body. Inhale, lift up halfway, lengthen the spine, crown of the head forward. Exhale, fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, rise all the way up, push the heels down, circle the arms, fingertips to the sky, maybe add that back bend. We're gonna do 2 more. Exhale, fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, rise all the way up, circle the arms, push the heels down, lift the chest, maybe add the back bend. 1 more. Exhale, fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway, lengthen the spine. Exhale, fold, Uttanasana. Push the heels down, inhale, rise all the way up. Make sure the hamstrings, the legs do the work, not the back. Maybe add the back bend, bring your hands to your heart, take a full breath in Tadasana. All right, a few standing poses here. So again, grounding through the heels, reaching up through the crown of the head. Inhale, fingertips reach to the sky, maybe at the back bend. Exhale, bring the hands through to the heart, folding forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, step the right foot back, all the way back, and then we're gonna drop that right knee down to the ground. So you might pad that knee. Know that you've got an option. And if you don't ever have a blanket or something handy, know that you can always just take the long edge of your mat and fold it over. So if your prop or whatever is out of reach, or you're somewhere where they don't have, whatever, you always have options. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna take a low crescent lunge, hip flexors. We always wanna stretch out the hip flexors. So push everything that's touching the ground, especially the legs, push them down into the ground like you're lifting your hips up, and then allow the hips to come forward a little bit. And you absolutely could stay here, hands down. Maybe you bring your hands to the top of your left thigh to lift your torso. Now I'm gonna give you another option here, but let's just pause here with the hands on the thigh for a moment. So again, instead of thinking hips forward, just like in the back bend, the standing back bend, I said it's not hips forward because that could really compress the lower back. It's the same principle here. So instead of letting the hips slam forward, we want to think about pushing down to lift up and more of a tuck of the tailbone than it is hips forward. So it's like your belly button is pointing up towards the sky. I really feel like when I make these videos, I'm preaching to the choir because all of you who watch these videos have been taking classes with me for so long, and I know that at home you're like, yeah, I know. but on the off chance you forgot tucking the tailbone to stretch the hip flexor. Okay, now this is the emphasis here. This is what I want to maintain and to continue. So if you can continue this hip flexor stretch, maybe you add a side stretch for the right side of your torso, which would look something like this. Left hand is gonna stay maybe at the left hip, maybe just at the left thigh. I like it at the thigh. Inhale as you reach the right fingertips to the sky and really grow tall and long in the right side of the body. Exhale, reach right fingertips over to the left, like you're reaching over to the left wall. Now, maintain the tuck of the tailbone and add that length. So it's sort of like the idea of like a reverse warrior, in the right side of the body, right? But we've added this tailbone tuck, this hip flexor stretch. Let's stay here for 2 more breaths. And then very slowly, remember there's no rush. Inhale as you return to the center, right fingertips to the sky. Exhale, bring both hands down. Now hands might come onto blocks, hands might come right onto the mat, but I want you to focus on your right hand. I want you to center your right hand under your right shoulder. Again, maybe on a block, maybe not. I don't think I'm gonna use a block. Right hand under the right shoulder. Inhale as you reach the crown of the head forward. Exhale, reach the left fingertips to the sky. Let's take a twist. So left fingertips to the sky as the right hand pushes down. Lift up and out of your right armpit to really lengthen the left arm. Okay, now you can look down towards your right hand. You can look up towards your left hand. You absolutely could stay here. If you're looking for a little bit more work, if when I said we weren't gonna work very hard, you thought to yourself, aw, maybe you wanna hook your right toes under and lift that right knee up. Maybe you want to take a totally different variation of this pose. You absolutely can do that. But what I would like for you is to twist and rotate your spine for 2 more breaths. Inhale. Exhale, slowly bring that left hand down. With both hands down on the ground, inhale, exhale, step forward, forward fold, Uttanasana. Take about 2 or 3 breaths here. Notice how you feel. Okay, now from forward fold. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, step the left foot back. Left foot all the way back, and then again, we're gonna drop that left knee down to the ground. You're all over. Okay, so dropping the left knee down onto the ground, focus on pushing down into the ground, like you're lifting your hips up. So there's engagement, there's work. You feel your muscles turn on. They're not working super, super, super hard, but there's engagement. They're on, right? They're not passive. Okay, so pushing down into the ground and then bringing the hands to the top of the right thigh. Again, hands can stay down. And if you feel a little wobbly, this is the case in any of these poses because I just felt it. I was feeling a little wobbly. So you just walk your right foot, just one heel toe over to the right. You've got a wider base and then should feel a little more stable. Now, tuck the tailbone, ribs back, base of the pubic bone forward like you're tilting your belly button up towards the sky. Tucking the tailbone, feel that stretch in the hip flexor. You absolutely, just maybe you focus here, you stay here and you really focus on that hip flexor, or maybe we add a little bit of a stretch. So right hand comes down, hip, thigh, wherever is comfortable. Inhale, left fingertips to the sky. Exhale, left fingertips sweep and reach over like they're reaching for the right side of the room. Now continue to draw the left shin, left knee down as you reach left fingertips up and over. Again, it's sort of like this reverse warrior sensation on the left side, but we've added the hip flexor, so you'll feel a little bit more maybe by the hip. Keep tucking the tailbone, grounding the right heel. Let's take 2 breaths. Okay, no rush. Inhale, return to the center, crown of the head, left fingertips to the sky. Exhale, bring both hands down. Now we're going to set up for that twist. What I want you to focus on is your left hand. Left hand is going to come directly under the left shoulder, maybe on a block, maybe not. Push that left hand down. Inhale, reach the crown of the head forward. Exhale, right fingertips reach to the sky as you take a twist. Okay, so again, pushing the left hand down, lift up and out of the left armpit to really reach the right fingertips up high. You can look up high, you can look down low. Maybe you hook the back toes under and lift that knee. But keep grounding that right heel and draw your right knee in towards your belly just a little bit, because most often the right knee, the front leg, wants to splay out. So draw it in. Focus on this twist. The whole spine twisting. 2 more breaths. Inhale. Exhale, slowly bring that right hand down. Inhale. Exhale, slowly step forward. Forward fold Uttanasana. Again, a few breaths. Notice how you feel. One more breath. Okay. Now from here, we're going to come all the way down onto our stomach. So inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, step one leg back. Doesn't matter to me which one. Just step one leg back, drop it down to the ground. Turn a low lunge. Bring the other knee down so you're in tabletop, and we're going to meet all the way down on our stomach. We're going to move through that foreign, awkward shoulder, upper back movement again. So I would grab something to let your forehead rest. It could just be a block. But again, I want your neck in neutral. So it's like you're looking down at your mat. Palms are down, arms are in goalpost position. So elbows bent at a right angle. Palms down, fingertips reaching, pointing in the same direction as the crown of your head, or the top of your mat. Keeping elbow down, right arm, let it lift. Might not come up that high, but lift it up as high as it can. Pause at the top, slowly lower. Keep the left elbow down, but lift the left forearm, wrist, and hand. Keeping a strong wrist, lifting it up, pause at the top, slowly lower. Now keep moving at your own pace. Lift, pause and hold, slowly lower. Now again, your arms are not going to lift up that high. That's okay. You might notice that one arm is able to lift up a lot higher than the other. That's also okay and normal. Now again, I'll go back to a personal anecdote. I have an injured left shoulder. So despite being right-handed and you would think my right arm would be tighter, my left arm lifts up half the distance probably my left arm does. Or I'm sorry, my left lifts half the right. You know what I mean though, right? Like I keep screwing this sentence up. So there will be differences. I guess what I'm trying to say is there will be differences between your right and your left. You notice them without judgment. You think, that one doesn't lift up as high as the other. Okay, and you move on. You don't say, oh, well that's because of this and that and this and that. Oh, and I should be. Blah, blah, blah. Not that. No. We're not doing that. You just, okay, one arm lifts higher than the other. Okay, and you move on. Okay, do 2 more, each side, just like this. Okay, and then when you're ready, you can just let your shoulders relax. Maybe bring your arms alongside your body. Just let the shoulders really rest. Take a breath or 2. Okay. We are going to stay on our stomach, but this time you can turn at your neck. So I'm still going to keep my head supported by my blanket, but if you don't have anything, that's okay. I often teach this and have people just put their head right on the ground. So if you've got support, use it. If you don't have support, that's a-okay. We're going to stay on our stomach though, and there might be a chance, depending on where you've positioned me in relation to you, you might not be able to see me, but that's okay. Of course, I will walk you through it. I have no shortage of words. Okay, so I like to kind of scoot over to the right edge of my mat, bringing everything kind of over to the right side. Now we're gonna reach the left arm out, directly out, so not goalpost. Left fingertips are now reaching over to the left side of the room, palm down at the height of the shoulder. Right hand comes under the right shoulder, and you're gonna rest your left cheek down on whatever you're resting your cheek on. Right hand is gonna come down. Push the right hand down to roll your torso off your mat, like your chest and your belly button are now pointing over to the right side. So your nose, your heart, your belly button, and your kneecaps pretty much are all facing the same direction, which is the opposite direction your left fingertips are pointing. That might have all been really complicated and convoluted, but I hope you're with me. Okay. So this is for our chest. We've been doing our upper back quite a bit. Now we're back into the front of the chest. So this should be a comfortable stretch for the front of your left side of the chest, front of the left shoulder. You are in control of how much of a stretch you take on. You can roll back a little, you can roll back a lot. That's your call. Now maybe you bend your right knee and place your right foot flat on the ground. I prefer it behind the thigh. I find that if I draw it forward, my hip just wants to drop when I get out of the pose. So I like to bring my right foot behind my left thigh, right kneecap to the sky, but left kneecap still facing in the same direction as your nose. Now again, feeling a lot in the front of the left shoulder and left side of the chest. This should be comfortable. So relax the head and neck. Notice if you're using your neck muscles to keep your head up, that's unnecessary. Let it relax. We're now in a pose that should take very little work. It might create a deep stretch, but it is not a lot of work. We're going to take several breaths here. So just check in with what you're feeling. Soften where you can. Let's take 3 more breaths here. And then if your right knee is bent, slowly lengthen your right leg. And slowly come all the way back onto your stomach, bringing your arms, neck, and head however you like. I like my arms alongside my body with my palms up. But whatever you feel like gives your chest and shoulders and everything a little bit of a break. One more breath here. Okay. And we'll switch sides. I'm going to stay where I'm at, so now I'm not going to be able to see you. I guess theoretically I never can see you though, right? But I will have my back to you, I suppose is the correct verbiage, but it might help to see it from another angle. So again, I like to kind of scoot over to the left side of my mat because then when I roll back, I'm sort of in the center. But that's just me. I will reach the right arm over directly out to the right with the palm facing down. I think my right hand is out of the frame, but again, right fingertips are pointing over to the right. So we're not in goalpost anymore. If we did this in goalpost, it would be super, super, super intense. It's not, no, not in goalpost, arms directly out. Okay, left hand under the left shoulder, turn so you're looking over your left shoulder, right cheek, right temple down on something. Push the left hand down, roll the torso back. Oh, roll the torso back any amount. Your hips, your belly button, your chest, your nose, all are now pointing in the same direction. You might bend your left knee, plant the left foot behind the right thigh. And sometimes women say, like, my chest is in the way. Just move it. Honestly, like, just move it. It's not a big deal. That goes for any pose. If your chest is in the way, just move it. Especially if you're just at home and no one can see you, just move it. Okay, so you're in control of the stretch. Do as little or as much as you need to feel comfortable. Soften where you can. Stay connected to your breath. Three more breaths. And then if your left knee is bent, slowly lengthen the left leg. Eventually come back onto your stomach, position your arms, head, neck, wherever and however feels good. And then in your own time, again, no rush, we're gonna come onto our backs. So you can just kind of flip around. Well, you eventually come onto your back, maybe supporting your head. Okay. All right, we're gonna give the shoulders and upper back a break. We're gonna take a twist though, one more twist, one last pose. Let the arms reach out, maybe in opposite directions. Again, if you don't have the room, that's okay. Arms can always come alongside the body, but palms will face up. Scoot your hips a few inches over to the right. Let your legs fall all the way over to the left. And you can take any variation with your legs that you like. But that last pose was a bit of a twist, depending on how you took it. Even though the emphasis was the chest and shoulders, there might have been a spinal twist happening. So just observe how you feel, move and adjust accordingly. You might turn at your neck to look over your right shoulder, you might not. We're not going to stay here too long, just a few breaths. Coming back into a pose that is passive and relaxed. Three more breaths. if your head is turned, slowly return your head to the center. Slowly return your legs to the center, your hips, your spine. Bring everything back to neutral. Take a few breaths. And when you're ready, scoot your hips a few inches to the left. Let your legs fall to the right. You can change the legs. You can turn at your neck to look over your left shoulder, but settle into something that, again, takes no effort. Where you can, again, rest and soften and release. Three more breaths. And if your head is turned, slowly return it to the center. Slowly do the same with your legs, your hips, and your spine. Notice how you feel. Take a deep breath in. As you breathe out, hug your knees into your chest. This is Apanasana. You can stay here or maybe take happy baby. But be somewhere that feels good, that just feels really comfortable for about 3 or 5 breaths. Somewhere where you feel like you can wind down, where you can soften. And then we can settle into Shavasana. So you might be putting layers on, you might be grabbing props. I'm actually going to turn my fan down. So you set yourself up. You do the things in your environment that you need to do. I'm going to come to a seat, but you come onto your back. And you settle in. You take a position that is very effortlessly comfortable. Somewhere where, again, you settle, you rest, you relax, and maybe that visualization of a snow globe helps. Maybe you picture that throughout the class, you were shaking things up. You're moving, you're working, you're doing challenging breath work and setting intentions and doing all these things that stimulate growth and movement and change and progress and all of this movement and the shaking. And then eventually you settle. You let gravity do its job. You settle down. You settle in. You soften. You rest. You relax. Slowly deepen your breath. Deepening your breath, allowing that breath to fill your whole body, allowing that breath to travel to the crown of the head, to your fingertips, to the tips of your toes, allowing that breath to wake everything up. Maybe you rock your head from side to side. Run your thumbs over the rest of your fingers as you wiggle your toes. Roll wrists and ankles. Move arms and legs. Maybe take a full body stretch. Reach fingertips and toes in opposite directions. Lengthen the whole body and take a deep breath in. As you breathe out, hug your knees into your chest. And slowly roll over onto either side in a tucked fetal position. Keeping your eyes closed and using the strength of both arms, push down into the ground and come up to a comfortable seat. And take a moment here to thank yourself for making it to your mat today. And maybe reflect on your intention. Loka samasta sukhi no bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and free, and may the thoughts, words, and actions of my life contribute in some way to the happiness and freedom for all. Now let's join our hands together in front of the heart in Anjali Mudra. To seal our practice, we'll chant the sound of Om one time. Om is said to be the oldest and most sacred mantra, uniting all living beings together. Let's start with a deep and clearing breath. Inhale for Om. The light or the good in me acknowledges, respects, and bows to the light or the good in you. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me. I can tell that sequence, I felt like I needed it a lot. So thank you for helping me with that and just all of it. Thank you so much for being here, for being on your mat, for you, for me, for everybody. The hope is that the more of us that come onto our mat, we can take these things off our mat and it'll sort of have this ripple effect. And like I said, it's still just February, so I'm just hoping for lots of positivity in this year, 2021. It could be a good year. Okay, so again, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for being here with me, and I hope to see you soon. Take care. Thank you. Bye.